And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Starting marine forecasts off with looking at tomorrow's weather. Low pressure coming up across the Alaska Peninsula tonight moves up toward the southwest coast, Kuskokwim Bay tomorrow. That's going to spread wind and rain, especially tonight across the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. They'll spread into Kodiak Island tomorrow with much of the western interior seeing some light rain that'll spread all the way up into the central part of the state. Stays dry to the east, sunny and warm for the southeast, and a breakout here over the Aleutians ahead of the next system that on Thursday brings gale force winds and rain in across Adak and Atka, pushing in toward Nikolsky later in the day. Not too bad here over the eastern and northern Bering Sea under general high pressure or lack of storminess. This low weakens as it moves inland, but quite an area of light rain here from the southwest coast right on up to the Arctic coast, drier to the east. Weakening front keeps it cloudy with some showers around south central Alaska. Sunny and warm for the southeast coast. And for the coastal water forecast, for the inside waters tomorrow, light variable winds at 10 knots with 2-foot seas. North to northwesterlies at 10 knots with seas 6 feet on the outer coastline of the north coast. West to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet. And for Thursday, north coast here, variable winds, light at only 10 knots, seas maybe 4 feet. South coast, south winds at 10 knots. Still light, seas at about 4 feet, and light variable winds over the inside waters at 5 to 10 knots. Prince William Sound and the North Gulf Coast tomorrow, light variable winds. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay. Southeast winds 25 knots with 5-foot seas. East and northeast winds for Cook Inlet at 10 to 15 knots. And for Thursday, Cook Inlet, southwesterlies 10 to 15 knots, seas 3 feet. And southwest at 20 knots for Kamishak Bay, turn west at 20 for the Barren Islands. And for Prince William Sound, winds southeast at 20 knots. Eastern North Gulf Coast, winds light and variable. West side here, south at 15. And for Shelikof Strait, Kodiak Island, south to southeast winds 25 knots, seas 4 to 8 feet. And good south to southeast winds, 30 gusts 40 knots for the western Alaska Peninsula, and then moving up toward Bristol Bay, small craft advisories there tomorrow for southeast winds at 25 knots. Then for Thursday, with the low pulling northward, lighter winds coming from a more westerly direction, west-southwest for the peninsula at 15 to 20 knots. Still looking at some westerlies at 25 knots, so seas just under 10 feet for Bristol Bay. Kodiak Island, west-southwest at 15. And for the Aleutians, eastern Aleutians, tomorrow, northwest winds 20 to 35 knots with the strongest winds for Unalaska Island. West 15 knots for Adak and Atka, turning south at 15 knots for the western Aleutians. Then with that next storm rolling in, looking at good gales here for the area from Shimia eastward to Nikolsky. Southeast 35 to 40 knots here from the area of about Kiska Island to Unmak Island, and northeast 40 knots, Kiska to Shimia. Unalaska Island, south to southeast winds at 30 knots. And for the southwest coast, for the Kuskokwim Delta coast actually, northeast winds 20 knots tomorrow. North at 20 for the Pribilof Islands. West winds 15 knots, St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast. North winds at 10 knots, southwest 15 for Norton Sound. Then looking pretty westerly for the northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound to the Yukon Delta coast on Thursday, west at 15 knots in all of those areas. South 15 for St. Matthew Island, west 20 knots. Nunivak Island on south, and then the Pribilofs, south winds 25 knots. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, south winds 15 knots. Central and west side about the same, south 10 to 15 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas. And for the Chukchi Sea, south winds 15 to 20 knots. Then for Thursday, for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, pretty light east-southeast winds, only at 10 knots with slight seas. Central and western Arctic coast, west at 10, seas 2 to 3 feet. And for the Chukchi Sea, west to southwest winds 10 to 15 knots with seas running 3 feet.